What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Run It Up podcast. I'm your host, Najee Adams. I got my guy with me today, my son, Jalaal. Sandy, the last episode we did, you were on it too. Low key, the episode did pretty good on YouTube. I don't even look at like how the episodes do until like the next episode, and so I just looked at it today, and it had like 100 views, which is like pretty decent for us. So, shout out. But how you been, my boy?
Oh man, when was that? When we recorded like September? I want to say that was September because we were talking about like the beginning of the NFL season. I mean,
is that what we were talking about?
Yeah, because I had a take that lives in my head forever. I'll get to it later, but
it might have
was
been the
terrible.
beginning of the season. Damn, that is crazy. But I mean, yeah, we back. I'm not gonna lie, bro. One of my New Year's resolutions was to record more. So, and I already told Jalal this. He said he'll keep holding me accountable. So he is gonna be king of holding me accountable. But this is where we start. Unfortunately, Khalil and Justice could not join us today. Khalil told me that he wants to be on the next one. Justice is still locked in. My son just announced he's having another kid, so he's all over the place right now. Shout out to my guy.
Ooh, we got to put in a little clap it up.
Yeah. Yeah, so Khalil should be here next week. But this week we are talking Jimmy Butler trade scenarios, top 3 head coach openings in the NFL because everyone's firing their coach. And then since the wild card starts on Saturday, we're gonna go through our wild card prediction. So hopefully you guys enjoy. We shouldn't be here too long. We're gonna get in here and out of here pretty quick, but I'm excited for it because we haven't recorded in a while. But before we get into things, make sure you guys subscribe to Run It Up Podcast everywhere that podcasts are found. I know you're probably like, why would I subscribe? You don't post, but that's changing this year. Follow us on Twitter at Run It Up Pod. Follow us on TikTok at Run It Up Podcast. And y'all know all the good stuff. But before we get into stuff, we got to go our song of the week. So Jalal, talk to me. What have you been listening to lately?
Yeah. I was a little late on this album. It came out August. It's a little Tecca song. It's the first song on his last album called Taste. Yeah, I like it a lot. I haven't gotten through the album to be honest, but from what I heard, it's pretty good. So
I have it downloaded. You can't see, but it's downloaded on my. I know the song, so let's go. Yeah, I got it. That's beautiful. I love some little Tecca. Anything that isn't Kendrick, I'm down with.
All right. So my actual song of the week is "Man in the Garden" by Kendrick Lamar.
I'm sure it is. Ooh. Is that the one he's like, I deserve it all? That's that one, right?
Yeah. That's my anthem for the whole year.
I respect that. I saw Braun singing it, so I'm down with it. You feel me? But my song of the week is off Sleepy Hollow's latest album. Read This When You Wake Up. It is the third track on the album, Madness. It is, I think it's like the starred out the song on the album, so it might be a little bit of a hype beastie track, but it's whatever. So that's my song of the week, Madness. As per usual, the songs of the week will be in the description at the bottom, so go check them out if you haven't. But let's dive into stuff. So we're gonna start with NBA. Obviously, the number one kind of storyline in the NBA these days is Jimmy Butler. Where is he going? Situation with the Heat is pretty much untenable at this point. Who is he getting traded to? Is he getting traded? As a Heat fan himself, Jalal, I'm gonna let you take this one, brother. I think we've both come with some sort of Jimmy Butler trade, so we can talk it out. But first, tell me how you feel as a Heat fan that this Jimmy Butler situation has gotten to this point.
I mean, I'm not upset. I'm more annoyed because it didn't have to get to this point. The biggest riff of the whole situation is Jimmy wants an extension. And Miami, for as far as I know, they've never committed to a star this late in their career for an extension, especially 50. I think he won $60 million in an extension. That's nuts for somebody who plays 60 games a year. Not even 60, probably like 55.
36.
He's about to be 36. But I think there's blame on both sides. Like, you look at the front office, the best player we got him was Kyle Lowry. Granted, he wanted Kyle Lowry, right? But like, that's his guy. But also, you had the opportunity to get Dame. You didn't get Dame. That I feel like that was out of spite of Joe Cronin, whatever. You didn't go after Kyrie. Nobody wanted to touch Kyrie at that point. You didn't go after DeMar DeRozan when he was first a free agent or when he was on a trade market. There's just so many names. And every time somebody's about to get traded, what's the first name that comes up? Miami's interested. No, they're not. Please stop lying. Like, I think people just bring up Miami just for leverage purposes. Like, oh, you really want him to go to Miami? Like, nobody wants any stars in Miami because Spo knows how to get the job done when he has the talent. But then you look at Jimmy, it's like, you play on average 55 to 60 games a year. You don't take the regular season seriously, so you don't lock in until you're a 7, 8, 9, 10 seed and you're in the play-in and you're like, all right, time to flip a switch. You didn't even.
Nah, I full screened you so you could cook.
Oh, I was like, oh.
Nah, cook.
I thought you left. Yeah, you didn't even bring us a championship to say it's time to flip that switch. That's exclusive for championship teams. That's what the Heatles did. That's what LeBron and D-Wade did. They flipped switches. And then, I think he also, like, I've been listening to Heat podcast, and he wants to bring like, he likes Miami. He likes living in Miami. He loves what the organization did for him. I just think he just wanted his money and he didn't get it. When he first got to Miami, he said, I like organizations that hold me accountable. And Pat Riley held him accountable. And I think people are blaming Pat because he told Jimmy to shut up or whatever. He also, in that same press conference, called Tyler Hero fragile because he couldn't stay healthy. And Tyler Hero has had the best season of his career this season and has not missed a single game. And I feel like that's what they thought. That's how they thought Jimmy would respond. And it went completely left. And now we're in a situation where it's like, either you trade him or he's going to wreak havoc.
I feel that. And that's kind of where I am with it. I think, obviously, you're a Heat fan, so you know the inner workings of the thing better than anyone. But for me, and thinking about, like, where he would end up going, like, I personally think that I just don't know if you guys are going to be able to find what you're looking for between now and
he's not being helpful either, because
Yeah.
I feel like we had two potential deals lined up, one with Memphis, one with Milwaukee, and he was like, nah,
I don't want to go there.
So you come out first and you're like, I'll go anywhere but Miami. Then we're about to ship you to Milwaukee. You're like, nah, we're gonna ship you to Memphis. Nah. So you want to go to Phoenix. Just say you want to go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
And then earlier yesterday, report came out that he would like to go to Phoenix. Just say that. Yeah. And it's gonna be tough because, I mean, I'll get more into
Bradley Beal.
But Bradley Beal has to waive his trade clause, and Miami doesn't want Bradley Beal. They don't want that contract.
And so I was going through teams, right? And so I'm gonna just kind of give my thought process here. Grizzlies, obviously, Jimmy Butler said he didn't want to be there. And if he's not going to commit to staying there long term, they're not going to trade for him. So I'd say they're out. The Suns, Bradley Beal's the only reasonable thing the Suns could send. He's still under contract for 2 more seasons, making 53 and 57 million, and a player option in his last year. But I mean, I highly doubt any team at the end of next season is giving Bradley Beal more than 57 million. So he's probably opting in. I don't think the Heat want Bradley Beal. Like, I think Pat Riley would rather drag Jimmy Butler into the offseason and let him walk than take Bradley Beal's bad contract. I think it only works if the Heat can redirect Bradley Beal for some expirings or some young players or something of value to them. And I don't see Bradley Beal wanting to just go rot in Brooklyn, Toronto, maybe Detroit.
Like, he gets to choose where he wants to play.
Yeah, exactly. So that makes it tough. The Lakers, we're just not doing it. It's not happening. The Bucs, I don't think Giannis wants to play with Jimmy Butler. I don't think Jimmy Butler wants to play with Giannis. I don't think either of them want to be there. The Spurs, I don't think the Spurs care enough to really try and go for it right now. I also don't think
that's the move for them either.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Jimmy Butler is necessarily going to be great for Wemby's development right now. So that leaves me with, and then the Warriors. It came out today that they're not interested in extending Jimmy or giving up Kuminga or Wiggins. So that pretty much kills that. So I think for me, I came up with 3 different scenarios. I think the most likely one is that you guys just ride it out to the offseason. I think
that's realistically, you were like, come up with a realistic trade. I was like, realistically, I don't think we're going to trade him.
I don't think you trade him either. I think you realistically just ride it out to the offseason. I don't think he plays for you again this year.
I don't think he plays another game as a
Yeah, I
Miami
don't
Heat
think he
player
plays
ever.
again this year. I
I
think
think
he
they're gonna
sits
tell him
out.
stay home
Absolutely.
and ride it out, and then whether he wants to opt in or opt out. If he opts in, to try it again in the summer.
Mhm.
If he opts out, good luck, buddy.
Yeah, I think that's the most realistic thing. I think you guys carry him to the offseason. It's super toxic. And then once the summer comes around, he gets up out of there one way or another. For the sake of the pod, I did put together 2 trades though.
I did too.
So as the let's pretend I'm gonna just say you, Pat Riley, right? So I put the thought process behind this. One is a 3-teamer. It's a 3-teamer between the Suns, the Magic, and Yuga and the Heat. And
Okay.
so it is a little bit of what's going on, but I would just read it and say why I think. So in this one, the Suns get Jimmy Butler. That is all they get. The Suns just get Jimmy Butler.
No, yeah.
The Heat get Jonathan Isaac, KCP, the Suns 2031 first swap. So you swap in 2031 with the Suns, a 2026 second and a 2031 second. And the Magic get Bradley Beal and Jaime Jaquez. Now, you might be like, damn, why do we have to give up Jaime? But I think it worked. It does work money-wise and everything. I got the little trade successful thing. And this was the thought process for me. The Heat, no, you don't take expirings, and you do have to give up Jaime to get off Jimmy, but you do get some draft capital in the Suns 2031 swap and 2 seconds, and some players that will help you stay competitive this season. If you let's just say your lineup is Tyler Herro, Terry Rozier, KCP, Jonathan Isaac, Bam. I don't think that's that bad. Is that contending in the East, beating the Knicks and the Celtics? No, but if you guys want to stay competitive and not take on bad money, I think that's relatively decent for you. The Suns, they're obviously ring chasing. They also technically get off Bradley Beal's money, and I think Jimmy's just a better fit for them. He's a better facilitator, better defender. I think he just makes their team better. Right now, they're not even in the play-in, so they need to do something. They got to do it quick. So I think
Bradley Beal and Nurkic just got benched
exactly
last week or earlier this week.
So I think they're down for whatever. And then for me, the team I had the most trouble with making sense of it was the Magic. But the way that I described it is the Magic right now have the 4th worst offensive rating in the league, the 2nd best defensive rating. They score the lowest points per game in the NBA, shoot the worst percentage from 3, and they're bottom 5 in assists. Their offense right now is just bad.
Granted, they're missing their 2 best players.
Paolo and Suggs are currently out, but I feel and Franz is out, but I do feel when they get healthy, and right now Jalen Suggs has no timetable. Paolo should be back either today or tomorrow. And so when they do get healthy, Suggs, Beal, Wagner, Paolo, and then Gogo or Wendell, still with Cole, Anthony, Jaime Jaquez, Tristan Da Silva, Jet Howard, Anthony Black off the bench.
Don't say Cole Anthony like that. Don't say Cole Anthony like that, bro. Cole Anthony is trash. He's trash, bro. He's not even a point guard.
No, he's not a point guard.
I've been saying they need a point guard.
They need a bro. I promise you, D'Angelo Russell would be so good for them.
No, he wouldn't.
D'Angelo Russell would be such a good fit for them. Real shit, best.
You've been saying this for 3 years.
I have in the Magic.
You want to know who the best player they could get is?
Trae Young would be the most insane fit for this team.
Realistically, depending on what this team, the direction this team wants to go in, if Fred VanVleet doesn't want to go back to the Rockets and they just want a veteran point guard that plays defense, facilitates, and hits some threes, that's perfect, honestly. And he's a leader on the court. He has a championship. He'd be perfect for them. Realistically, Trae Young.
I don't hate that. No, he's not going there. But I don't hate the Van Vliet slot in there. But based on that trade, is that horrible? What would you do if are you rocking with it? I know giving up Jaime is tough, but
I wouldn't just because the fit of Jonathan Isaac and Bam next to each other is disgusting.
I feel that. I feel you lock it up though.
Defensively is great, but offensively, Bam is already not naturally a great offensive player, and now that he's the second option, which he's really not. And he's a guy who you shouldn't. He's basically like a Draymond. If he's the third option, you're good. He already, what he's going to give you on defense. Offensively, he might give you something. He might not. The Jaime thing. I mean, Shit, if Jimmy ain't gonna play, then we need somebody at the small forward spot, bro.
Really.
But I like the KCP part. So I mean, it's not
It's just a
bad.
little option for me. Yeah, I like I said, I think we both agree that you guys probably keep him, but just trying to spitball some stuff, I think that's decent. Did you have a trade that you came up with?
Oh, I had two. You said you had two too.
I was gonna go 1-1-1-1.
Oh, bad. Okay, so this is the first. The first one is a 3-team trade. It's a little. These are a little wonky because
He's in that trade machine cooking.
yeah, bro. I was in the trade machine for like an hour and a half, just looking at the salaries, looking at the aprons. That second apron is crazy.
OD, yeah.
But this first trade is between the Heat, the Bucs, and the Suns. So I feel like the Bucs, like even though they're really good, not really good, but they're pretty decent this year, like they're near the top of the East. I feel like they're getting sick of Chris Middleton a little bit because he's not healthy. And just a little bit of insider from what I've been hearing from Heat podcast, the Heat don't want to take on any contracts that expire past 2026 because they want to have cap space for the summer of 2026. I'll read you the free agents after I tell you to trade. Dang, I lost it. Okay, so the Suns get Jimmy, Josh Richardson, and Gary Trent Jr. The Bucs, and I was trying to find somewhere where I'm like, would Bradley Beal go there? Maybe. I don't know if they pay him that, but I have Bradley Beal going to the Bucs along with Mason Plumlee, Pele Larson, Keyshawn Johnson, just to make the money work. And then the Heat get Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, and Pat Connaughton. I feel like if you wanted to stay competitive, Chris Middleton can get it done for a couple years. Bobby Portis is the perfect. I mean, like when I think about somebody who can actually play next to Bam, Bobby Portis is that guy. And then Pat Connaughton has upside where he's low-key athletic, but he's also one of the best shooters in the league, one of the more underrated shooters in the league. And I think that would keep them competitive, as Pat said he wanted to stay competitive. I feel like I don't know if that's realistic, but that's the best I could come up with.
No. I feel like so who did the Suns get?
Suns get Jimmy, Josh Richardson, and Gary Trent Jr.
Jimmy, Josh Richardson. That's it. And who did they give up? Bradley Beal and who?
Bradley Beal, Mason Plumlee.
Oh, they hit and accept on that. And then the Bucs get Jimmy, and y'all get who? Chris Middleton, Pat Connaughton.
The Suns get Jimmy, the Bucs get Bradley Beal, Heat get Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, Pat Connaughton.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if anyone says no, it's probably y'all. The Suns smash accept on that. The Bucs, for me,
I feel like the Bucs could say no.
I feel like the Bucs could say no too.
They love Bobby.
The Bucs they love Bobby, and like Giannis, they do whatever Giannis runs that org. And if Giannis is like, yo, I want to keep Chris Middleton,
yeah, they're not doing
then they're not doing it. So I think it ultimately comes down to that. But just like process wise, I think it makes sense for all parties involved. For me, my second trade is a 2-team. It's just a 1 to like no 3-team, just a normal trade. And I was trying to think of a team that is like not mid, but could use Jimmy Butler and has been in the rumors. And so I landed on the Denver Nuggets. And so this trade for me is Nuggets get Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks. Heat get Michael Porter Jr., Zeke Najee, and Dario Saric. Now, the reason
smashing accept.
My thought process here. The Nuggets probably don't do this because right now they're like what, the 3 seed in the West? Maybe I think there's a 4 seed in the West.
I think they dropped because they lost the other night.
And like they're not that much higher than every other. It's just like a mosh pit of teams at from like 4 to 7. So like they're right in the middle there. But for me, the thought process was they do trade MPJ. And you might be thinking like, oh my God, the Nuggets are going to miss his threes. Well, the Nuggets are bottom 5 in 3-point makes, and they're dead last in 3-point attempts. So like, they're not shooting that many threes anyway. And they have a middle of the pack defense, which Jimmy Butler would help out with. Their top 5 offensive rating in the league. Jokic is an offensive hub all of his
I'm
own.
about to say, it doesn't matter who's around
Me,
Jokic. They're going to be
you,
having
like,
the best. Yeah.
they're going to cook. So that don't really matter
SpongeBob
to
and
me.
Patrick with Jokic is a top 5 offense.
Exactly. I think the Jimmy Jokic pick and roll will be nasty. They get to keep Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther. They still have a few firsts in the upcoming years. So the Heat get an MPJ for Jimmy Butler alone. It's a win.
That's a win
in my book. You also get a pick swap in 2031 when Jokic will be about 36 years old. And you get Zeke Najee, who's like 24 years old. So like, I think that's a win-win. I think the Nuggets probably say no, if I'm being honest, just because like don't mess up what's not broken necessarily. And I think they still feel like their window is still open. MPJ has been with them since the draft. So I think that's probably why they say no. But I also could see this happening.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I also think the Nuggets would say no. I think the Nuggets' problem is not MPJ. It is Jamal Murray. I've been saying this for 2 years. Jamal Murray only shows up he's like Jimmy Butler, but not as good.
Yes.
And he doesn't play defense. So like if he's not scoring, and sometimes he give you facilitating, sometimes he doesn't. He's not doing much else. But I mean his presence alone helps them, but it's just like when he's just hitting the side of the backboard and just breaking off the rim, building houses, it's like, yeah, he's not offering much. That's a good one. I like that one. My next one is bonkers. I need you to stay with me. This is a 4 team. You went down, I went up. I was like, okay. And so the teams involved, this trade might not make any sense, but this is the one that took me like 40 minutes. Mm-hmm. Teams involved: Heat, Wizards, Suns, Lakers.
Oh God.
Okay. What team do you want me to start with?
Please start with us. Who are the Lakers giving up?
Okay, again? I think you're gonna like this though.
Okay.
So the Lakers get Bradley Beal and Jonas Valanciunas.
Oh, okay.
The Suns get Jimmy, Rui Hachimura, Josh Richardson, and Jackson Hayes.
Fine, easy. He's a horrible NBA player, so yep, I'm good with that.
They needed a big because they got rid of Nurkic, who goes to Washington with Austin Reeves, Max Christie.
Yeah, that's where I'd have to say no.
That's where I feel like the Lakers would say no. But that's who you have to move like 6 Lakers players to make this trade.
I know. All of our salaries are weird. Yeah.
Plus a 2026 second from the Heat and a 2031 first from the Heat. The Heat get Kyle Kuzma, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and Johnny Davis.
So we give up Austin Reeves.
The Lakers are giving
Christie, up Rui, Jared Vanderbilt, and Gabe Vincent for Jonas Valanciunas and Bradley Beal.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's awful. I just had fun with it because I was like, I saw a rumor today that was like, Bradley Beal might be interested in going to the Lakers. I was like, huh.
Yeah, waive his no trade clause to go to the Lakers.
I mean, what team says no? The Lakers? You think the Lakers say no?
We undoubtedly say no. That don't even get. They say Austin Rip and Rob hang up that phone. We didn't trade Austin Reeves for Kyrie.
That's true.
They traded for Bradley Beal. But I feel like it's gonna be it. Like I feel like there's only 2 options with the Jimmy thing. It's either gonna be you guys keep him and you wait till the summer, or it's some ridiculous out of nowhere players you didn't even think were movable getting traded to get him up out of there.
But who wants to deal with that?
I don't think anybody does, which is why I think you end up keeping him.
You're taking on a guy who's about to be 36. Is not going to play every game.
Who's left every team he's been on in a bad manner,
except Chicago.
Except Chicago, yeah.
And Chicago was the only team that got a good return for trading him. because I think Chicago got Zach LaVine for him.
Yeah.
So it is what it
What
is,
team
man.
did Zach LaVine used to be on?
The Timberwolves. They drafted him.
Oh yes, that's
With
dunk contest.
Wiggins.
Zach LaVine. Yeah,
With
I
Wiggins
forgot.
and Cat.
Yeah.
And Cat.
Yeah. All right, cool. That was a little brain fart for me, but yeah, that's fine. But yeah, that's our Jimmy Butler trades. One of them is definitely going on TikTok. That's gonna be electric.
I'm about to get cooked.
Lakers fan base gonna be on your ass, what? Yeah, I mean that'll move us into NFL talk. I think we're gonna go best head coach openings right now. Obviously, I think there's 7 teams with head coach openings.
There's a new one. I thought it was 6.
It's Bears, Patriots, Jags, Jets, Raiders, Saints. So what? That's 6, right? Bears, Patriots, Jags, Jets, Raiders.
That's
Saints.
what I have. Those
Yeah,
are the 2.
That's 6. So I think this will be pretty simple. Like we're just rating our top 3. I think it's a pretty simple top 3. For me, it's who you put 1 and who you put 2. So who do you have at 1 here for the best head coach opening in the NFL?
My number 1 is Chicago. I think they have the most talent out of any team that doesn't have a head coach. They have a guy on a rookie contract, Caleb Williams, who's the number 1 pick in the draft, has sky high potential. They also have DJ Moore and Rome Odunze and a defense that plays really, really well. And when they're being coached well, they play together. It seems like they crashed out at the end of the season once their coach got fired. But I think if you get an offensive minded head coach in there, get the O-line right, I mean, I'm biased, but it's hard for the Bears not to be the Bears, but get some type of promise inside that building, maybe they could turn some stuff around.
Yeah, for me, it was between the Bears and the Pats. For me, I think that's really what it is. I ended up putting the Bears 1, just like you. I think first and foremost for me, it comes down to QB. And I talk a lot of shit about Caleb Williams. I do, just because like obviously I'm a Justin Fields stan, so it just comes with the territory. But Mike there we go. We back. I talk a lot of shit about Caleb Williams, but I'm a Justin Fields stan, so it just comes with the territory. But for me, I think Caleb Williams is as good as a franchise QB on a young rookie contract as you can get right now. It's also the Chicago market. And so like if I'm a head coach, like they have been horrible for decades. And like the Bears are cursed. If you come in and you're the guy to turn it around, like you'll be a legend. And so like they also have 81.5 million cap space this offseason, which is 5th most in the NFL. And they have like a decent amount of good players already under contract. Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore, Rome, Montez Sweat. Like the base is like the foundation is there. You just got to kind of come in and do your own thing with it. For me, I think the bad part is you're coming into a loaded division where every single one of the teams outside of you won 11 plus games and made the playoffs. And I don't see any of them falling off anytime soon. Maybe the Vikings, but still like they're still going to be pretty good. So like you're coming into a loaded division, and that will be pretty tough, especially with like the expectations placed on you from the Bears franchise. But I think I'd still put them number 1. For me, number 2 is the Pats. I think outside of Caleb, Drake May is the second best guy you can get here. They have 133 million cap space this summer, and the second team in the league has 112. So they have significantly more than every other team in the league this year. The problem is they have a lot of holes to fill. Like they pretty much have no offense. Like outside of Drake May and maybe DeMario Douglas, everybody else on that offense is interchangeable. Like Jalen Polk, Kayshawn Boutte, Hunter Henry.
They took Jalen Polk over Jalen McMillan.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're about to shoot themselves in the foot, bro.
Kendrick Bourne, like I just think even Ramondre, Antonio Gibson, like you can get rid of all of them. DeMario Douglas for me is the only like semi bright spot on that team, on that offense.
What about Kayshawn Boutte?
No, absolutely not.
I feel like every time Red Zone comes on and I see Drake May launch the ball down the field, it's Boutte. And I'm like, how did he get open? Was he like a 6th, 7th round pick?
He was like, yeah, didn't he go to LSU? Like he was like
He
pretty,
did, and he was supposed to be like second, third round, and then he went to the combine. It was like he's not that
good. But yeah, I think even on defense they have Christian Gonzalez, which is like lockdown corner, young rookie, hard to find. So like I'd look at it like a blank slate. You have 133 million cap. We have pretty much every single hole on this roster to fill outside of QB and cornerback one. So go crazy. And they have the 4th pick in this year's draft. So, like, you could get Travis Hunter. You could get Ted McMillan. You could get Luther Burden if you wanted. You could get – there's a bunch of good guys. Nick Scorin if he lasts. But,
Mason Graham.
Mason Graham, yeah. So, I think there's a lot of good stuff. That you see, like, we – like, I just think the Pats, Will Johnson, Christian Gonzalez would be crazy. But I just think that there's a lot of good things that you can do with this Patriots team. I'm assuming you had them too.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you said. The only thing that gave me hesitation was they brought in Gerard Mayo year 1 and fired him after year 1, and he didn't have much to work with. I'm like, I think it's because they want Mike Vrabel as their coach.
They do. They absolutely do. Yeah.
Like the rumors were coming out in the middle of the season. I don't know. I feel like they did him a disservice. They didn't even give him a chance to build anything. I felt like they at least played hard.
Mm-hmm.
They're just ass.
They're just not good. Yeah. Like I don't know what you expected. Like
they had the second pick. May was the second pick, right?
They're the third. Because Commanders got Jaden at 2.
Jaden was 2. Okay, yeah. You had a top 3 pick for a reason.
Yeah, now they got top 4 pick.
I'm saying
it got better. There you go.
I just don't know if like Robert Kraft will be patient with whoever he brings in. Mm-hmm. That's my only hesitation.
Nah, I feel that. That would be why I wouldn't want to take the job either. But who was your 3?
Jaguars. I feel like out of the top 2, the rest of the 4, they're all trash situations, to be honest. Like the Jaguars are in they're between a rock and a hard place because they don't really know what Trevor Lawrence is still. And he's like at this weird middle point where he looks elite one week and then he looks like absolute garbage the next week. The talent is there. It's just he's not consistent enough on a week-to-week basis. And Doug Peterson drove that team into the ground. They draft Travis Etienne, my bad. That's his brother, Trevor. And don't use him. Tank Bigsby becomes RB1 for 2 weeks. Then you flip back and forth, and everybody wants to use a committee when sometimes you don't even need that. Brian Thomas Jr. is an absolute stud.
The lone bright spot for that team.
I'm saying. But you got holes to fill on the offensive line. Defensively, Josh Allen is really good. Sorry, Josh Hines Allen.
There you go.
Trayvon Walker quietly is having 2 back-to-back great years. He had back-to-back 10.5 sack seasons.
Over Aiden Hutchinson is tough, though.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. Nobody told him to do that, but he hasn't been bad. I just think they need someone to instill some type of culture. Like every time I've thought about the Jaguars over the last 10, 15 years, it's like, who wants to go there? Who wants to play there? If you're not drafted there, why would you go there outside of money purposes?
No, I'm with you. They were 3 for me too. Pretty much everything you said. I think when you look at the Jags, the Jets, the Raiders, and the Saints, like this is a pretty easy answer for who's 3. Like the Jets have a lot of talent. They also currently don't have a GM, and their owner was vetoing trades based on Madden ratings. So I'm cool off that. I'm cool off going to New York. The Raiders and the Saints don't have a QB, so not going there.
What would you say is the worst situation to go into as a coach?
Probably the Saints. I'd say maybe the Raiders. It depends for me who has cap space, right? Because I don't know the cap space.
The Saints have no cap space.
Then I'm gonna say the Raiders because there's just no relief. Like I'm gonna say the Saints. There's just no relief. Like
they've been avoiding a rebuild for like 3 years.
Yeah, like they just the way they do contracts is crazy. So yeah. I'm gonna say the Saints is the worst situation there, bro. Because cool, you got Derek Carr, maybe you got Kamara, maybe
Derek Carr is trash.
You got Chris Olave who
wants out,
who's putting up like Devonta Smith numbers when he should be putting up better numbers than that. He's been putting up wide receiver 2 numbers as the wide receiver 1. So it's tough. Rashid Shaheed was outperforming him. So I don't know. I think that the Saints are in a tough spot. Clint Kubiak probably ain't coming back there, so they got to find a new OC. And I just think it's very difficult to continue to do that. But yeah, Jags for me was the third best pick there. And so yeah, that moves us on to wild card picks. Before we get into this though, rapid fire. I'm gonna ask you 5 questions. I didn't prepare you for this, so
Cool.
First thing that comes to your mind, it's like I think it's 6 questions actually. First thing that comes to your mind, rapid fire based on the playoffs. What's your Super Bowl matchup?
Chiefs, Eagles.
Chiefs, Eagles. Who's your Super Bowl winner?
Chiefs.
Who's your playoff MVP?
Saquon.
Oh, okay. Most likely playoff coach to get fired this offseason.
Playoff coach? Damn.
For me, so
I gotta wait. Hold on. I'm trying to think.
My Super Bowl matchup was Ravens Lions. My Super Bowl winner was Ravens. My playoff MVP was Lamar Jackson. My most likely playoff coach to get fired is Mike Tomlin. I think.
So that's the only name where I was like, because they've been so mid, even though they make the playoff. But it's like, how do you fire him, bro?
I just don't know. I feel like
look at their offense.
If they get clapped by the Ravens,
they are gonna get clapped by the Ravens.
I just think that they might be like, hey, it's time for something new.
Yeah, I don't know who else. I don't know who else I would pick.
I was between Tomlin and Sirianni. Like, if you guys,
it's absolutely no. It's absolutely Sirianni.
Right? Like
100%.
If they come out flat, like I think it's like it might be time to move on here.
The Eagles don't win the Super Bowl, Sirianni's out of there.
Yeah, I was between those two. The next one is most likely playoff QB to be on a different team next season. For me, it was between Russ and Sam Darnold. I said Sam Darnold because I think some team is going to give him the bag, and I don't know if the Vikings are going to want to match that.
I think it depends on what Sam Darnold does. I feel like him playing better might actually help the Vikings, just because nobody else is going to want to pay him whatever, and if they don't think JJ's ready, they can just bring him back for another 2 years.
Yeah.
And I would say Russ.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the Steelers need to commit to a young quarterback and stop trying to do this bridge quarterback thing every year. Kenny Pickett didn't work out. I could have told them that. Justin Fields didn't work out. Russell Wilson.
I don't know if I'd say it didn't work out.
It didn't work out. He's on the bench. He's running Wildcat off the bench on 4th down. He's PJ Walker on the Steelers. If you know who PJ Walker is, you know ball.
Yeah.
I mean, Russell Wilson hasn't been terrible, but it's like he doesn't fit their timeline, and he's probably not patient enough to be like, I'm gonna stick around here another year. Nah, yeah. I feel like Russell Wilson might end up in New York next year, either with the Jets or the Giants, if the Giants can't get a quarterback or the Aaron Rodgers retires.
I feel like the Jets are that kind of org, especially Woody Johnson. That's like, I want a proven. They just did that with Rodgers. I want a proven Super Bowl winning, and like Russ isn't a head case, so like theoretically it might work out a little bit better. But yeah, and then the last thing for me was biggest fraud. I landed on, and I know this is going to be a hot take, the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know what it is. I just personally think that there's something different this year, bro.
You one of those, huh?
Different this year. They don't put fear in my heart like they did in prior years. And I felt like that last year too, when they ended up winning the chip. But I can't explain it. There's just something different about the Chiefs this year that I feel like they might get that Josh Allen belt. They might get that Lamar Jackson belt in the second rounds, but we'll see.
Biggest fraud.
I figured your answer would be the Eagles, but I don't know.
Nah. I was gonna say the Vikings.
I feel that.
Or the Rams. I was between both of them. So I feel like the Vikings, I think they're legit. It's just that last game last week against the Lions, Sam Darnold's ghost came back to haunt him. I'm like, bro, you look like the dude that was playing for the Jets. He was just missing guys wide open. Like he wasn't even wide open slant routes, post routes, just missing dudes. The Rams, because is nothing that like really stands out to me. They run the ball really well, but Matthew Stafford throws like 150 yards a week.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, and 120 of them go to Puka.
Mm-hmm.
So if you shut down Puka, Cooper Kupp no longer exists. He's now a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the Rams. I'll go with the Rams. I feel like the Vikings are more legit than the Rams at this point.
I feel that. So we can get into the wild card picks. Starting if we're going in chronological order. For first up is Chargers versus Texans. So I'll let you kick this one off, brother. Chargers Texans. Who you got in this game?
I'm picking the Chargers. My score prediction is 2017. I think it's gonna be close defensive battle. The take that I referred to it earlier in this podcast was when we recorded, I was like, the Texans look like the best team in the AFC.
Oh, I said a crazy take when we were talking about the Texans.
As soon as I said that, Stephon Diggs got hurt and they hit not rock bottom, but they were just mid for the rest of the season. Their offense is just not that good. No. CJ Stroud has not been that good this year either.
As much as Nico Collins moonballs.
Exactly. It's Joe Mixon, help us out. Joe Mixon fall forward on your face. Yeah. Nico Collins moonballs and Dalton Schultz checkdowns. And I think Stroud's just been up and down all year. And even though their defenses play really well, I think their offense is a detriment to their defense right now. And they just don't have enough weapons. Unless we get a John Michie game, no disrespect to him. It's just like unless a random guy steps up, I don't see how
Woods game.
Yeah, like a Robert Woods game or a Cole Stover, whatever.
Xavier Hutchinson.
Yeah. Like a Damian Pierce game, something like that. I just like the Chargers more. Their offense is a lot more consistent. Justin Herbert's had a great year. J.K. Dobbins, comeback player of the year. I don't want to hear about no Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is absolute dog shit all year. Lad McConkey is a fantastic receiver. And their defense is legit. They have one of the best pass rushes in the league. Their secondary is a little shaky because they had some injuries, but I think they have enough to shut down the Texans.
Yeah, for me, I also went with the Texans. See, I didn't do score predictions. So you
went with the Texans?
No, I'm lying to you. I went with the Chargers. I went with the Chargers. I think last year we saw CJ Stroud come into the same situation in wild card and absolutely destroy the Joe Flacco-led Browns. I don't think the Chargers are that team. I think I'm going to be totally honest. I just don't think the Texans are that good of a team. Like they were 22nd in yards per game, 21st in passing yards per game, 15th in rushing yards per game, 19th in points per game. They were 5th in takeaways, 13th in giveaways. Stroud was 28th in EPA per drop back with the 8th worst success rate. Like they just kind of got blessed. Like because they played in a shitty division. Like their wins this season came against the Colts twice, the Bears, the Jags twice, the Bills, the Patriots, the Cowboys, the Dolphins, and the Titans. One of those teams made the playoffs. One of those teams finished with a winning record. They're 1-7 against teams with winning records in their last 8 games. That one game is the Bills. They lost to the Packers, the Vikings, the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. So pretty much every good team they played outside the Bills. Since week 10, you know how many touchdowns CJ Stroud has thrown? 9. You know how many interceptions he's thrown? 8. Like he's just very, very mid this season. And versus playoff teams this year, he's gone 1-5 with 8 interceptions. And the Texans are 1-7 when his passer rating dips below 80. And in those games, his passer rating 71.9. So like the Texans really just beat up on the Titans, the Jags, and the Colts, and they got to 10 wins and they made the playoffs. For me, I trust Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh more than I trust CJ and D'Amico. I just like. I also just don't think Bobby Slowick, the Texans offensive coordinator, has been like that good at developing game plans on the fly. I think they get into games with a game plan that doesn't work, and they're like, Nico Collins. And so, like, I can see that happening this this year as well. I mean, this week as well. And it's crazy because like last year, Bobby Sloak was like this massive mastermind of this Texans offense that made the playoffs, that had this great year, and like now I could very well see them moving on from him this offseason. But we're aligned. I think the Chargers win this game. I don't think it's some blowout, but I think Justin Herbert gets his first playoff win. Yeah, that takes care of that. For me, next up is Steelers Ravens. I'll keep this very, very quick. The Steelers haven't won a game since December 8th. Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. We just watched this Ravens team 3 weeks ago demolish the Steelers on Christmas. Granted, they don't have Zay Flowers. And the Steelers didn't have George Pickens back then, and now they will. But for me, the Steelers are dead last in net passing yards since week 14. The Ravens defense has really come around. The Steelers have a total of 4 explosive plays in the last 5 games. I don't think this will be a blowout, though. Like, I think Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh have played each other for like 20 years. So like, I just think they know each other well, like better than any other coaching kind of matchup in the league at this point. And yeah, I just think it'll be a low scoring game. I think the Steelers might even like turn Lamar over once, whether it be pick or fumble. But I think like this is where the Derrick Henry addition like pays dividends for the Ravens. And like in the past, they haven't had that guy. And I think, hey, if Lamar can't do it, the Ravens have no problem putting the ball in Derrick Henry's belly 30 times and winning 17-10. And I think that is kind of how this game ends up going. But yeah, how do you see the Steelers Ravens playing out?
I see it being an annoying game. Like we watch the Steelers drive down the field, kick a field goal 5 times. I don't think they score a touchdown. My score prediction is 27-16.
Okay.
So somehow, some way,
pick 6.
They're just a weird team.
Yeah.
Like their defense to me is more reliable for scoring touchdowns than their offense. George Pickens doesn't want to play football anymore. Apparently, he just stops running routes in the middle of the game. Your second best receiver is Calvin Austin, Mike Williams, Pat Freiermuth, Jalen Warren, like
Van Jefferson.
Yeah, Najee Harris. Like all of these guys are not, and they're not going to be able to run the ball well. I think they ran decent last time they played, but the Ravens have the best rush defense in the NFL. And I just feel like the Ravens finally get over that they can't beat the Steelers hump. Like that's been the whole narrative of Lamar's whole career. He's only played them, I think, 3 times or 4 times now. And they won last time they played them. And I think it being in Baltimore would definitely help. I just can't see Russell Wilson walking into Baltimore and coming out with a W.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, it's just not happening in my head. Like,
now we've seen Ryan Tannehill do it.
We've seen the Lamar's like 2-4 in the playoffs. Like he doesn't have a great playoff record.
This is a big game for his
legacy,
especially if he wins another MVP after the season.
A legacy game for Lamar Jackson. But we're both rolling with the Ravens, both rolling with the Chargers. That brings us to Broncos Bills. I'll let you start this one off, bro. How you see this one going?
Yeah, we're gonna keep this one real short. Bills by 20.
Okay.
My score prediction is 34-14. I don't think the Broncos have enough offense consistently. Their best running back is Bo Nix. Cortland Sutton.
That's crazy.
I feel like I know he doesn't actually lead the team in rushing, but I feel like he's their best rushing threat. Like Javonte Williams' knees are cooked. They don't use Audric Estime at all. And Jaleel McLaughlin's like this gadget guy you throw in when you need his speed. And
Javonte Williams had 513 rushing yards. He led the team in rushing, and Bo Nix had 430. So less than 100-yard difference.
Thank you. Okay. I knew I wasn't too far off. Marvin Mims has come on in the last few weeks, and Denver's defense is legit. But the Bills just throw so much at you. They throw James Cook, Ty Johnson, Khalil Shakir, Dawson Knox, and Ray Davis, Josh Allen. Yeah. Like, it's just – and their defense is getting healthier. Matt Milano came back a few weeks ago. They have the number one turnover differential in the NFL, and Bo Nix has been turning that bitch over for the last few weeks. So I think that they turn over Bo Nix a couple times, and I think Josh Allen has one of those games.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm gonna get on my little Josh Allen soapbox because that's my MVP. He is 4-0. He has a 4-0 wild card record at home. They've won 10 of their last 11 games. He's played the full game. That one loss is to the Rams, where he had like 7 total touchdowns. And he's going up against a rookie Bo Nix on the road in his first playoff game. Yeah, give me the Bills, brother. I think this is the game that like everyone will like galaxy brain themselves into thinking like, oh my god, the Broncos have a chance. You see how they played against the Chiefs third stringers, because that's the last time we saw them play. When I look at the teams that the Broncos actually played pretty much every team close this year. The only team that they had a big loss to was the Ravens. They lost 41-10. 7 different players caught the ball in that game. Derrick Henry ran for 2 touchdowns. I think the Broncos defense does 2 things really well: sack the QB and put Pat Surtain on locking down the team's best wide receiver. The thing is, the Bills are uniquely set up where those 2 things don't necessarily matter. Like Josh Allen has been the best QB in the league at sack avoidance. He took 14 sacks, the least of any QB that started for most of the season. Like, he has been incredible at not going.
And that's impressive for him because he used to take a lot of sacks.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the CTE ball has significantly diminished this year, which is good for the Bills Super Bowl odds. And so yeah, like if the Broncos are really good at bringing down quarterbacks and Josh Allen doesn't really go down, then I mean, I think that's advantage Bills. If you're gonna put Pat Surtain on somebody, the Bills don't really have a wide receiver one. Like, you want to put him on Amari Cooper, cool. Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, James Cook, Ty Johnson, Matt Collins. Like, it don't really matter. You know what I mean? Like, Josh Allen's throwing it wherever he wants. The Bills led the NFL this season with 13 different players catching TDs. You know who they tied with? The Ravens. You know who blew out the Broncos? The Ravens. So I just think the Bills are pretty uniquely set up to do the same thing the Ravens did to this team and just like attack them in a bunch of different ways. And so yeah, I'm taking the Josh Allen led Bills. It took a lot for me to not make them my Super Bowl champion this year because Josh Allen has a special place in my heart. But I think they definitely get past the Broncos in this wild card game.
You hold Josh Allen's water for him when he comes off the field?
I absolutely do. He hasn't won me a dynasty chip yet, but he will one day.
Yeah. You know who won me? You know who won me one?
Yeah,
that boy Pat. No, that boy Pat.
Aiden O'Connell won you one, buddy. Next game is Packers Eagles. So I'm gonna clear out here. I'm gonna let you do your thing. So go ahead and cook, my brother.
I did not pick the Packers. I know you. I got my shirt on though. The Packers are maybe the most frustrating team in this entire playoffs. When you asked me who was frauds, I almost said them. I had to think about it. I was like, I can't do my boys like that. It's crazy because you look at numbers and they're top 10 offense and defense. When you look at like EPA per play, which you love, they are top 3 on both sides of the ball. They're top 3 on both sides of the ball. And compared to like their strength of schedule, they're like top 5 in hardest strength of schedule because their division is nuts. The problem is these are the same guys you got to beat to get to the Super Bowl. You went 1-5 in your division. Should have been 0-6. Let's be honest. Y'all won on a block field goal. You beat Anthony Richardson, the Texans, the Bears on a block field goal. You beat a lot of lowly teams, and then when you play the Eagles, the Vikings, the Lions, you are 0-5. Don't have any faith in them to win this game. The thing is, they're gonna piss me off because they're gonna keep it interesting. My score prediction is 27-23. I think, like usual, they'll probably get off to a slow start. It is tough to quiet down that Eagles crowd. They are rowdy as hell. I wouldn't be surprised if they came out in their black jerseys. I think I lied. I do have a little bit of faith in them because their defense is pretty damn good. I'm worried about their offense. It's very inconsistent. They don't have a number 1 receiver They got a lot of guys that do a lot of different things, but without Christian Watson, and the Eagles play a lot of man defense, they don't have guys that can separate consistently. I find it very hard to see how they win, but I think ultimately Saquon, AJ Brown will be too much for them. I don't know how Jalen Hurts is going to look. I don't really think it matters because Saquon could win the game by himself. One playoff game, Saquon could do it by himself. But I think it'll be a good game. I hope we win. I just don't think we will. They haven't shown anything this season that would make me believe that they could just flip the switch and be like, hey, we can finally get out of our own way.
No, I'm with you. I took the Eagles. I think I was was looking for stats and everything, and I forgot that they played week 1 in Brazil. But I basically threw that game out the window. Like, it's the first week of the Eagles' new offense, first week of y'all's new defense. Eagles defense has morphed into probably one of the best, if not the best, in the NFL in that time span. I do believe that. Yeah, I would say they're the best too. I think like throughout the season, teams usually show you who they are. And like you said, I think the Packers had ample opportunity to show us who they were. They lost to Philly week 1, even if we don't count that. Lost to Detroit twice, lost to Minnie twice. The Packers' most impressive win was against who? Houston, Seattle, maybe. I think I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan. I don't think we were that good. Yeah, like maybe Miami, Houston, and so like. On the other end, the Eagles beat you guys. They beat the Bengals. They beat the Commanders. They beat the Rams. They beat the Ravens. They beat the Steelers. Like, all, for the most part, playoff teams other than the Bengals. And like, I'd rather just have them in here than the Broncos. So I'm counting them. And I think that I do think the Packers have a shot though. Like, yeah. Hurts hasn't played in 3 weeks. The Eagles love the big play. They have 19 plays of 40 plus yards or more, and that's second behind the Ravens. This was crazy when I saw it. Since that week 1 game versus the Eagles, the Packers haven't allowed a single 40 plus yard gain all season. Like, that's insane.
No, their defense, it's usually I'm sitting here talking about like, oh, our defense is going to give up 300 yards and we're going to have to score 35 to win. I think that's only true for one team in the NFC, and that's the Lions.
Yeah.
I think their defense and their running game can keep them in any game, and that's why it's so frustrating because they're in every single game. Yeah. But when they need to make plays and they need to execute and lock down, they can't do it. They make stupid mistakes.
Yeah, I think.
Also, before you go,
no.
So I saw a stat that said the Packers are the second youngest playoff team in NFL history. Do you know who the first is?
Was it you guys last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I have to remind myself that these guys are still young. They're still inexperienced. They still make stupid mistakes.
And last year, this was kind of the same scenario where you went into Jerry World against a team that everybody kind of thought would smoke y'all, and you laid the smackdown on the Cowboys and then pushed the Niners to like a pretty good
We should have won that game. We should have won that game. Yeah, but I think this team, it's funny. I think this team is better than that team. It's just something's missing. Like, it just feels like the same aura that was there last year is not the same confidence that they had last year. Jordan Love is not as hot as he was coming into the playoffs. Like, we had to win every single game to get into the playoffs. That last game against the Bears last year was a win and get in. This year we was like, we lost. Congrats on y'all Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think if the Packers could turn this into like a knock them down, drag them out, lean on Josh Jacobs, super long drives kind of game, and get the Eagles into like a rhythm where they're playing from behind, which they haven't done much all season, I think that the Packers can win this. I think in the end, like, whichever team can establish the run and be more dominant in it will win. And the Eagles have a guy that just rushed for 2K on their team. So I'm gonna take the Eagles. So but I do think this is gonna be the best game of the weekend. I'm between this and Bucs Commanders for best game of the weekend. But I would say that this is gonna be a banger.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
So this leads us to Bucs Commanders. Who you got in this one? Because I was back and forth on this. This was probably my toughest one.
Yeah, I was back and forth too. Like, I'm thinking like, damn, should I pick them? Should I not? I picked the Bucs. My score prediction is 37-30. Both of these teams have putrid defenses, even though I think the Bucs have more opportunity to turn the ball over to get sacks. Like, they have more stars on their defense than the Commanders do. But then on the flip side, the Commanders, even though they don't have a bunch of weapons, I feel like their offense is really dynamic because of that one man behind center. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league already. But I just feel like he's not ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they shut down Terry or they get physical with Terry McLaurin and, Terry gets frustrated sometimes and they shut down that one big play, I feel like every time you watch the Commanders, when they win a game, who's making that big play? It's always Terry for 30, 40 yards. And the Buccaneers, hey, listen, I've had my share of criticism for Baker Mayfield. These last 3 years, he's been on a heater and he's motivated. He got his bread, and him and Mike Evans had one of the best connections in the league. Bucky Irvin is fantastic, one of my favorite running backs in the league. Jalen McMillan's coming on lately, nice little rookie. And they have enough chemistry to win the game. They're playing at home. They play really well at home. And in my opinion, they have a better coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give them the slight edge. I think the Commanders could win this game, though. Like, they have enough. Both teams have enough firepower to win this game. I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. We could be talking about this game for the next 3-4 years.
Yeah, that's I ended up picking the Commanders, but it was I'm still going back and forth. I love the Baker Mayfield story. He goes to the Browns, they cast him out. He goes to the Panthers. He stays there for a little while. They get him up out of there. Spends a couple years. He spends half a season with Sean McVay. Then go on the Rams, and then he goes to the Bucs, and he's just elite. Like it's pretty insane. So I'm down for the Baker Mayfield story. I also forgot these teams played in week 1, and I think the Bucs won by 17. But like a lot is different. That. Yeah, like Jaden Daniels is much different than he was in week 1. The Bucs don't have Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin was the Bucs leading receiver in that game. The Bucs also didn't have Bucky Irvin in that game. So it's a lot of different pieces going around. In the end, I think a big matchup in this is going to be, does Marshawn Lattimore play? Both secondaries are banged up. Marshawn Lattimore, the Commanders are like reportedly saying like, oh, he might play. We feel optimistic about it. If he doesn't play, I think Mike Evans has an absolute field day with that Commander secondary. He might have a field day even if he does play. I'm not gonna lie, but like I think for me, I just love a good little rookie story, and like I think the Commanders have been in a lot of games that are like you just don't see rookie quarterbacks win, and somehow they've won them. And I think like Jaden Daniels for me is a very special player. I didn't have him as my QB1 coming out of the draft because I got wrapped up in the Caleb Williams hysteria. But like in my head, I knew he was going to be elite. And so like I feel that this like in these moments is when like you see whether or not these like young quarterbacks are special. And I think this is where Jaden Daniels will once again prove that he is. So yeah, I just think they're also the more I think they're just an electric team. And I think Cliff Kingsbury probably has one more year as an OC before he gets another head coaching job. And yeah, for me, I'm taking the Commanders. I wouldn't be shocked though if the Bucs won. This is the game that I'm like least confident in. I feel good about the Chargers, good about the Bills. I feel about the Eagles, but I'm like super shaky on this one. But yeah, I went Commanders, you went Bucs, and then that leads us to the very last game of Wild Card Weekend, Monday Night Football. Vikings had Rams. I'll start this one off. I ended up going with the Vikings. I think that a lot of people got scared off by the Lions booty clapping that occurred a week ago. Sam Darnold was seeing ghosts, didn't look any sort of like what he's looked like this entire season. But I think the Lions tend to do that. A lot of people. The Rams are not the Lions though. And so I think Sam Darnold turns it around. I don't think we see another ghost game from Justin Jefferson. I think Kevin O'Connell gets in his bag. I also just don't think the Rams are that good of a team. Like what they won the NFC West at 10-7 because they won the tiebreaker over us. I'm pretty sure they had a negative point differential and still won the division. Granted, I'm a Seahawks fan, so maybe I'm biased, but I just think this like we always get to the playoffs and we feel like, oh, what if this crazy upset happens? And it's like the Vikings won 14 games, like
right. Yeah.
In any other season, they damn near
they are the third best team. They are the third best team in the NFC right now.
Yeah, like in any other season, they have the bye. And so like this 10-win Rams team with a bunch of wins over the Seahawks and the Niners, who weren't that good this season. They do have that win over the Bills, which was pretty electric, but like, I just think that the Vikings are the better team, and I think they continue to show that. And they come into this game, they beat the Rams, and then they go rematch the Lions in the divisional round.
Yeah, I also have the Vikings. I think it'll be a close game just because Sean McVay is a great coach. Matthew Stafford seems to rise to the occasion in the playoffs, but I think the Vikings just have too much talent. I really don't like the Rams as a team. I think they've had just wins where they scrape by the Cardinals and scrape by the Seahawks and like all these weird low score wins, and you have under 250 yards of total offense. Kyron Williams is really good, and I think he'll be the deciding factor. Puka Nacua, as long as he doesn't get hurt, should have 100 yards. Will Cooper Kupp show up? We shall see. But it doesn't matter. Like you said, I think Justin Jefferson has his great game. I think Jordan Addison has a great game. They still have TJ Hawkinson and Aaron Jones, and they got too much on offense.
I'm looking at
I have a question for you. Do you think the NFL should consider reseeding based on record instead of winning division? Like, should record take priority over division?
Absolutely. There is no way in hell the Vikings should be the 5 seed and the Rams should be the 4 seed. There's just no way. I'm sorry. I'm down for playoff reseeding.
So I agree, but someone brought up a different point. They said when you have a great team go on the road against a lower seed or whatever, a lower record team, weird things happen. So you remember that Saints team that went to Seattle and Marshawn Lynch happened? Yeah, sometimes those create some of the greatest moments that we remember. So I feel like that element of surprise and unpredictable moments happen. Granted, I don't care about that. If you win 14 games, you should not have a road game.
Yeah, road is 14
the first week. That's nuts.
It's crazy. They won't have a home game all the whole playoffs damn near.
The only way they have a home game is if the top 3 teams get knocked. Like they'd have to end up playing the Packers or the
NFC
Bucs.
chip. Yeah, they'd have to play somebody in the NFC chip. I'm looking at these ESPN predictions and their Super Bowl they like ESPN, the network is an ESPN Plus article. So they logged in. There's a whole bunch of stats and shit in here. Their Super Bowl matchup is Chiefs versus Packers, and they have yes, bro. I was just reading it. It's ridiculous. They have Chiefs winning 27-13. The NFC chip
wait, hold on. They're gonna get us all the way there just for us to get clapped up. Yeah. Come on, dog.
The NFC chip game is Packers Rams. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah. Is this battle of coaches or battle of teams?
Exactly.
Like, what are we doing?
But yeah, so that's gonna be it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. We are back. Make sure you subscribe to Run It Up Podcast everywhere podcasts are found. You find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever you listen to podcasts on. We on there. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Run It Up Pod. You can find me on Twitter at Najee and Jalaal at JS45, JSandy45.
JSandy45 _.
Yeah, there we go. It'll be in the description. But yeah, Justice and Khalil will also be in the description as well. So make sure you go follow the guys. But yeah, I hope you guys have a litty day, a litty night, a litty life. And just like we do on every episode of this podcast, make sure y'all go run it up.